I've lived on this land for over 25 years. Bought it outright after retiring from the contracting business. 10 acres, quiet, nothing but trees, deer, and peace. Marked my lines with proper corner pins, iron rods, even drew my own maps back in the day when everything was done by hand. Not a single dispute until the new HOA moved in next door. They built that subdivision fast. 100 or so homes, all crammed together, and suddenly their clean little sidewalks butted right up against my fence. At first, I didn't care. I kept to myself, mowed my own pasture, and minded my business. Then one morning, I saw orange flags inside my property. Not just one or two, a whole row of them, leading right into my tree line. I walked over and flagged down one of the contractors. Asked what was going on. He said the HOA was installing a retention pond and a nature path for the residents. I asked why the hell it was on my side of the fence. He looked at his tablet and said, "Sir, our records show this is common space." Common space, my ass. That's private land, and I've got the deeds, maps, and tax records to prove it. I told them they were working inside my boundary line, and they'd better stop before this became a legal problem. The guy shrugged and said, "Take it up with the HOA, not me." So I did. I walked into one of their little HOA meetings, bunch of folding chairs in a model home garage, and asked to speak. A woman named Karen stood up. She wasn't the president, just some overzealous board member with a clipboard and that kind of voice that talks down to everyone over 50. She said, "Oh, we've had this surveyed. You must be mistaken. That land's been part of our site plan since day one." I said, "Lady, I've owned that land since before your board ever existed." She smiled fake and said, "Well, feel free to bring in your records, but don't interfere with construction. It's been approved." I knew right then they were playing stupid or playing bold. Either way, they were about to learn what happens when you mess with someone who knows land law better than they do. The very next morning, I wake up to bulldozers. Not on the other side of the fence, inside my property line. Trees I planted with my late wife, gone. Cut clean. Grass I'd kept mowed for years, ripped up like garbage. I stood there barefoot on my porch, stunned. I stormed down to the site and flagged the foreman. He had no idea who I was. I told him this was private land, my land. He looked annoyed, pulled out a clipboard and said, "Talk to the HOA, sir. We've got permits." Permits? For my land? That was all I needed to hear. I took photos of the flags, the destroyed trees, the tire tracks, everything. Then I drove straight to the county clerk's office and pulled every plat, record, and tax map. Every single one showed the same thing. My boundary line was clear and they had crossed it by almost 40 feet. I brought the paperwork to the next HOA meeting, held it up, plain and simple. "You're building on my land." Karen didn't even flinch. She smiled like she was doing me a favor. "Well, you should be grateful," she said. "We've improved the area. It'll raise your property value." I asked her if she thought that justified trespassing and bulldozing part of my land. She just rolled her eyes and said, "If you want to take this legal, be my guest. But our attorney already told us we're in the clear." That was her mistake. She underestimated how much I knew and how much patience I didn't have left. I asked for her attorney's name. She said, "You can contact the firm directly. We're done here." So I did something she didn't expect. I left quietly. I didn't argue, didn't yell, just smiled, got back in my truck, and drove straight to a title attorney I'd known for years. I handed him the files and said, "They built on my land. I want it corrected. Fully." He leaned back and said, "We'll do more than that. Let's cripple them." We filed the first cease and desist within 24 hours. But that was just the beginning. Because while Karen thought this would go away with a few sweet smiles and HOA clout, she didn't realize the full weight of what she'd triggered. And I wasn't stopping until every brick, blade of grass, and penny they stole was accounted for. 2 weeks after that cease and desist, things started getting uncomfortable for them. My attorney filed for quiet title and injunctive relief, naming the HOA as a whole, and specifically Karen, since she signed the development order that touched my land. I wasn't just asking them to stop, I was demanding full removal and damages. The summons hit their board like a lightning bolt. Suddenly, the smug smiles vanished. Karen tried to hold another HOA meeting, but this time, half the members didn't show. One even emailed me anonymously, said they were never told the land wasn't theirs. They were just following Karen's lead. And here's the kicker. When the HOA's own insurance found out about the pending litigation, they refused to cover the board. Why? Because it was an unauthorized encroachment. Karen hadn't gotten a proper survey before greenlighting construction, just a verbal from some third-party landscaper. That meant the board was personally liable. Karen still tried to bluff. I got a letter from some discount attorney saying I was inflaming a civil matter and that the HOA would seek damages for disruption. My lawyer laughed and filed a countersuit for malicious trespass, negligent construction, and unauthorized land use. We asked for damages, legal fees, land restoration, and $500 a day for every day the HOA structure sat on my land after the notice. Then we got the surveyors involved, licensed, official, with county approval. They marked the property lines with bright neon stakes. Red flags, literally, all over the new HOA walking path, the community garden, and that ridiculous water fountain Karen had custom installed. I made copies of those photos and emailed them straight to the neighborhood mailing list, just keeping everyone informed of the ongoing case. Karen flipped. She called my attorney and offered to settle things quietly, wanted to avoid court, said they'd move the structure as a courtesy. But it was too late. The damage was done, and we were going to court. The judge signed a temporary injunction forcing the HOA to stop all development and submit a removal plan within 30 days or face $10,000 a day fines. Karen didn't just lose her cool, she lost her board. By the end of that week, 5 members resigned, and the people who once followed her around like ducklings, they were lining up to testify against her. Because when you build on another man's land and try to bluff your way through it, eventually the law bulldozes back. Court day came like a storm, and I was ready. My lawyer brought in everything: surveys, timestamps, drone footage, expert witness from the county zoning office. The courtroom wasn't even full, but the tension, you could cut it with a knife. Karen sat at the defense table, all dolled up in this pale pink blazer like she thought charm would save her. Spoiler, it didn't. The judge didn't waste time. He asked one question. Did the HOA conduct a certified land survey before approving construction? Karen opened her mouth, hesitated, then muttered, "We had verbal confirmation from a landscaping contractor." The judge blinked once, then said, "So, no legal survey." That was it. In under 20 minutes, the court ruled in my favor on all claims. The HOA was ordered to dismantle and remove all structures built on my land within 45 days. Pay full restoration costs to return the area to its original condition. Cover all legal fees, survey costs, and expert witness expenses. And the big one, $137,000 in damages for trespass, negligence, and property devaluations. On the event. The judge even threw in an extra clause banning the HOA from ever developing within 10 feet of my boundary line again. Karen sat frozen. One of the former board members behind her just shook his head and walked out. Another one whispered, "We should have listened to him from the start." After court, Karen tried to corner me in the hallway, said something about misunderstandings and how I could have worked with them. I told her, plain and simple, "You don't get to build on my land and then beg when the bill comes due." She didn't answer, just left in silence. Within a month, the fountain was gone, the walking path, jackhammered, the benches, hauled away like trash. My land was mine again, and freshly surveyed, staked, and legally protected. The HOA? Well, they weren't the same. Karen was voted out 2 weeks later. Half the neighborhood wanted to dissolve the board altogether. Their reserve funds were drained paying off the settlement. No money left for flowers, lawn crews, or pool maintenance. All because their queen bee thought she could take what wasn't hers. And me? I got my land back. No drama, no threats. Just law, facts, and one hell of a court win. So next time the HOA thinks they can build on someone else's land without asking, maybe they'll think twice. I didn't just stop them. I made them pay for every inch. What would you have done if the HOA tried this on your property? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one. And hey, if you enjoyed watching a greedy HOA get what's coming to them, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories where justice gets served one legal document at a time. I'll see you in the next one.